Ladies, gentlemen, good morning. This is author and philosopher Germinal Van. The video of today is to speak about political philosophy, precisely about three ideologies. And these three ideologies basically are embedded in the realm of American politics. And of course, these three ideologies are conservatism, minarchism, and anarcho-capitalism. Why did I decide to speak about these three ideas? Because people confuses them on the right. They think that a conservative is a minarchist and a minarchist is an anarcho-capitalist, which is actually not true. So I'm going to dissect the three ideologies separately and then make a conjunction about not necessarily which one is better, but which one is the most suited, in my opinion. So we're going to start with the fact that the American political culture was based on a political order, and this political order is classical liberalism. Classical liberalism is the political philosophy that John Locke enhanced in the 1700s with Second Treatise of Government, in which he says that human beings have natural rights that the government cannot deprive them of. And from moving from the state of nature to civil society, they come with those rights in civil society. So it is with that philosophy that the founding fathers of the framers of the Constitution draft the Constitution and decide to limit the powers of the federal government so that the citizen could have more freedom. So classical liberalism is basically based on economic freedom and individual rights. So the conservatives in the United States, those that we call conservative, in fact are classical liberals. So they defend the political order that was already established in 1789. So they want to keep that tradition. That's what a conservative is. In fact, conservatism is not necessarily an ideology per se. It's more a political position. Because let me take the example of China. The political order of China is, okay, they call themselves communist, but they're not really communist. They're more authoritarian. So those who support the status quo in China currently are the conservatives. They do not want to change the current political order in China. And in the United States, it's quite the same. Like, we have classical liberalism and the conservatives do not want to change that. Now, what makes a conservative in American politics is the fact that a conservative believes in classical liberalism, but also add tradition and moral order to the belief of classical liberalism. So that's why conservatives are very embedded in tradition, in religion, especially Christianity. Some are even saying that the United States is a Christian nation. The United States is sure a Christian nation culturally, but not legally, because the Constitution of the United States never declared Christianity as the legal and main religion of the country. Instead, it says that freedom of religion, you can practice the religion you want, whether you're Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, whatever religion you believe in. So America is not legally a Christian nation, but culturally, yes. Now the issue with conservatives and why I'm not a conservative is because conservatism in American politics has changed, especially with the Republican Party. The Republican Party, which is known to be the conservative party of the United States, here in the US and abroad, has drastically changed. Before, the Republican Party used to be a conservative party, but now it has changed to a form of collectivism. A collectivism that I don't necessarily like. A collectivism based on the cult of the personality, especially now with the president that we have. people do not necessarily support Republican principles, or should I say conservative principles, but mainly whatever the leaders stand for, that's what they follow. And the reason why I do not agree with conservatism is because it is, in my opinion, wrong to use state power to enforce morality. Morality is a subjective value that each individual has. My moral values are definitely not the same moral values as my sister or my friends. We're each individuals, therefore our moral values are subjective. They're based on the life experience that we experiment every day on the daily basis. For example, the reason why I don't believe that it is right for conservatives to use state power to enforce morality is, for instance, the abortion laws. You know, most of the southern states, they pass laws to restrict abortion to the point of making it illegal. I don't necessarily support abortion, but I believe that it is not the role of the state to determine what a woman should do with her body. Of course, there is a moral basis for abortion for those who are against abortion. I understand that. But to use state power, to enforce state power on individual rights, I think it's a violation. I think it's an infringement of individual rights. Whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, that's a personal matter. And I do not believe that it is the role of the government to actually interfere in the decision of two consenting adults to have an abortion if they want to have one. And another example of why I do not support the conservatives anymore in the United States is because, let's take the flag desecration. So burning the flag. Trump lately said that he would support an amendment criminalize burning the flag. At the end of the day, burning the flag, although yes, it is disrespectful to those who are fighting for us, fighting to protect our freedom, but it is a right. It is protected by the First Amendment. Even Antonin Scalia, who was one of the foremost conservative thinkers and judicial philosophers in the United States, support the fact that individuals have the right to burn the flag if they disagree with a decision of the government. It's a way of expressing their anger and their opinion, and the First Amendment allowed them to do so. And now conservative wants to ban that. That's an infringement on individual rights as well. If you say that you're conservative and you believe in individual rights, therefore you cannot prevent people to exercise their rights even if you disagree with it. So this is two examples that I gave that makes me not being with the conservative. Now I'm going to speak about minarchism. Minarchism, although it is called night watchman state. So minarchism, basically, it's a libertarian political philosophy that advocates for the smallest, the most minimal government possible. Basically, minarchists say that the role of the government is to only enforce the protection of the individual. So the role of the government is to protect private property, to protect also the safety of the citizen domestically through the police for the safety of the community, and at the national scale, or should I say internationally, against foreign attacks through the military. And then to also prevent individuals to harm one another through exchange, and to avoid breach of contracts, we have the judiciary. So minarchists believe that the fundamental role of the state is to protect private property, to enforce safety through the police, to protect the citizen against foreign attacks through the military, and to prevent breach of contracts through the judiciary. So when it comes to, is it the role of the government to provide education and healthcare and all this stuff, the minarchists say that this is endeavors that can be done through the market by individuals with voluntary exchange. Minarchists believe that it is not the role of the government to provide goods and services to the people, that the people can provide those goods and services to themselves through the means of the market. And anarcho-capitalists now are saying that the state is illegitimate. The person who coined the term anarcho-capitalism is Murray Rothbard, famous libertarian economist and philosopher. He was a radical. I agree with Rothbard in many aspects, but I do not agree with him on anarcho-capitalism. The problem with anarcho-capitalism is that they say that the state is completely illegitimate. So even the military, the police, and the judiciary could be privatized. We can privatize the law, we can privatize the military, we can privatize the judiciary. And the fundamental philosophy of anarcho-capitalism is that we will live in a stateless society based on voluntary exchange. Everything will be done voluntary. I understand it's an ideal, it's a utopia, but what bothers me about anarcho-capitalism is that it's kind of naive, because it's not every individual that want to do things voluntarily. That's the truth. Like, people, it's not everyone that thinks, oh, we should do things voluntarily and life will be great, everyone will be happy. That's not true. If there is a stateless society, if someone wants to reinstate slavery, there's no state to prevent that. That person can, if he has the means. If you privatize the law, someone who has the most money can pay the judge, and the judge will rule in favor of that person who has the most monetary means. So I don't believe that anarcho-capitalism is a realistic and suitable ideology to enforce, because at the end of the day, the point of believing in an ideology and the point to believe in it, it's because you think that you can actually implement it in real life. That's the point of an ideology, is that it means that it starts in your head and then you try to find the means to actually give life to it in the material world. And anarcho-capitalism cannot be realistically enforced in the material world. So I find that very unrealistic. Now back to minarchism. Minarchism also has its flaws. The main flaw about minarchism is that although we try to constrain the powers of the state or the government through a written constitution, the problem is that written constitutions never stayed at their initial scope, because those who are ruling the state will find means to expand the power of the state, because if they expand the power of the state, it means that they're also expanding their own powers, because the rules and regulations that they will enforce on society, interestingly, they don't enforce it on them. So if they don't enforce it on them, that means that they cannot necessarily be held accountable one way or another. I mean, yes, it's true that in America, politicians are held accountable, but not to the full extent of the law, in my opinion. I think they're held accountable for the show, but they still have their pensions, their benefits, and a lot of factors that they still benefit on from holding political office. So, in my opinion, I believe that for someone who is an adamant believer of classical liberalism, and I am a classical liberal, I'm definitely not an anarchist, but I'm a classical liberal. I believe that minarchism is the most suitable ideology compared to anarcho-capitalism. I mean, anarcho-capitalism has a lot of valid points. Like, at least you know that the state will not be able to constrain your ability to flourish. That's the good thing about anarcho-capitalism. But privatizing everything to the point of privatizing the law, the military and the police, that's a little extreme in my opinion, because human beings are not all uh, inherently good. There are people who are always seeking domination one way or another, and one of the reasons why the state exists is to prevent that one group of people enslave other group of people in the same society. That's the point. Because, for instance, if the state did not exist, slavery was still going on in this country. It would have still been on in this country, and that's problematic. So, conservatism has drifted away from its original purpose. Anarcho-capitalism is too radical. Minarchism, it's uh, abstractly the best, but realistically too, it's something that is not necessarily sustainable on the long term because it will drift one way or another. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my little allocution of the day. I wanted to speak to you guys about the three uh, about these three ideologies and see what you think and where you stand. But personally, I am a classical liberal and I am a minarchist, a libertarian minarchist, and I will keep fighting for liberty, and I will make sure through my writings that we are able to keep advocating for the restriction or the confinement of the powers of the states. So, ladies and gentlemen, please share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that we can gain more followers and educate the people about the right ideologies to support so that we can promote liberty for a very, very long time.